Hi, my friends. Welcome. This is the Back to Me podcast, and this is Heather, and I am super excited that you're here. You are going to hear some tips and some tricks and some ideas to help you live your happiest and healthiest self. I call it Back to Me because when you are taking care of yourself, back to me, then you can take better care of others, and we can all make the world a better place. This is Wellness Your Way, and I am super happy that you're here. Hello, my friends. Welcome. It's the Back to Me podcast. And I was just saying to Philip, my guest today, that I'm feeling a bit sassy today. So we'll see what happens. It's the matcha. I'm telling you, it's the matcha. So welcome to Back to Me, where you are going to get tools and tricks and tips and resources and anything magical that I can bring you to help you thrive, because that's why you are here. So today is Philip Wride. Almost rhymes with thrive. Almost. And if I say it fast. Hello, Philip.
Hello, Heather.
How are you doing?
I think that's one of the nicest introductions, because most people go, oh, if I change your name, change the letters around, actually, your surname's weird.
Oh, I like that, actually. But I'm going to have thrive instead. I'll just...
Well, that's fine. Yeah, that works.
To weird later. So Philip is going to talk to us about some super amazing things, I know, because I read all the information. But first, I love, my guests know this, I love knowing why, what happened to draw you into this world of life business coach from tech guy. And you wrote a book and you've got stuff happening. I mean, it's all going to come out eventually. But where did you start to bring you here?
January 2020.
Such a big date.
It was for me, because I broke my neck playing rugby. And I didn't know it was broken for 7 weeks.
Seriously?
Yeah. So I was playing. I went to make a tackle. So I lined this guy up. I was like, okay, he's running towards me. I'm gonna put my body in, make the tackle. Normally, you are meant to cushion your head on the softest part of your opponent, which is their bum. I actually got my head in the wrong place, so his thigh came straight through into my face. We were both laid out on the ground. I was like, oh, a little bit of pain. Everything's a little bit stiff. So I walked off, drove home, not being able to move my head or my neck. That was one of the toughest drives I have ever done.
Oh my gosh, probably not seeing either.
No, it wasn't, because all I could do was move my eyes to look in my mirrors, and I had to take it really slowly. It was like, okay, let's stay on the inside lane. Let's go slowly. Let's just make sure we get home. But the club had physio that we were able to go to when we had, niggles and injuries and things like that. So I did that because I thought, everything's gone into spasm. It's stiff. It's like I've just done a really hard gym session. So I've overworked it, and I just need to get somebody in there, thumbs, and just ease it off. So I did that for 7 weeks until the physio went, it's not really doing anything. Maybe you should go and get some scans. So I did. And then, a consultant sat me down after a set of scans. I was like, C5, C6, it's broken. We want to do about 6 hours worth of surgery. You want to go in through the front and in through the back and put a plate and screws in, and it's all be fine. I was like, not feeling that. Plus I couldn't actually afford the surgery. So I was like, you know what? Thanks for the information. I'll see you later. I'm going to walk out of here, and I'm going to put faith in my body and hope that it heals.
Whoa, that's crazy. First of all, because I'm in Canada, it's like, pay for the surgery. I had surgery on my wrist in December and last year, and I'm like, I didn't pay for surgery. But I hear you. I don't know if you know the story of Joe Dispenza. You must know the story of Joe Dispenza.
I've heard a couple of different ones, yeah.
If you read I didn't read the whole thing. I totally own this, but I did read his bike accident in his triathlon, and they wanted to put rods in his spine, and he said no, because I can heal without that. So, and you had been walking around for 7 weeks without it. So good on you. I mean, your muscles were doing what they were supposed to do, which was holding you immobilized, right?
Yeah,
like,
pretty much.
Do still while you heal. So good. Okay. So how long did it take you? What did you do?
So I wore a neck brace. I slept in a neck brace. I didn't do much because it was like, I'm not sure what's going to be the right thing for this. Over time, yes, the muscles eased off. It became easier. Yeah, I got movement back. 18 months later, I went to get another set of scans, different consultant, and he was like, it's a miracle. Because all of the research that he'd done for the case, so I was referred in by a specialist sports physio who used to work with the South African rugby team. So again, for sports injury-wise and the type of injuries for rugby, he was like, okay, I get this, I understand. I'll refer you in, go and have a chat with my colleague, get some new scans done. And so this sort of spinal specialist was like, all of the cases that I've been able to find are from people who waited 3 weeks and then had surgery. I haven't been able to find anything of people who were silly enough to not have surgery.
Right.
Okay. So it's like, okay, great. So we're on a good start here. Yeah. Got the new set of scans, and he was like, you have grown new bone around the break. You've got full range of movement. You've got strength as if nothing happened. Okay. Off you go. See you later. Have fun. Just don't do anything stupid like
Play
get in
rugby.
a car crash, play rugby, anything that, whiplash type effects. So no more skydiving. So it's like, apart from that, away you go. So I was fortunate in that respect that, I guess long-term effects, we'll wait and see. My neck is slightly twisted. My spine is twisted, so I'm not straight on anymore. I'm slightly twisted to the right. And it does impinge the nerve. So every now and again, I get sharp shooting pains through sort of shoulder and into my chest. But on the whole, it's fine. It's good.
Well,
I can keep going.
And I did spend 14 years as a massage therapist. So I know that I love surgeons. I love that they can fix things, but they see surgery as the solution for everything. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
well, what if your body actually knows how to heal?
Yeah. I've had surgery on a knee. I've had surgery on a shoulder.
Right.
I turned down surgery on my ankle. And that's one of the reasons why I was like, I know my body has already healed broken stuff before. So let's see what it can do with my
And
neck.
it would have been interesting if you had known earlier that it was broken and found a way to get a little traction to see if you didn't get that weird little twist. Like even me, when I was 3, I broke my collarbone. They didn't do surgery on it, but it does have a funny little twist to it that causes its own interesting things in movement. But I call those, your body has a lot of life experience to remind you the souvenirs that you have from all the things that you've done. So then you broke your neck, but that still doesn't explain what you're doing here now.
No. So that I said that 7 weeks. Okay.
Right.
So that was from January into March. So then what happened in 2020? What everybody knows happens. COVID lockdowns. It's like, woo, great.
Yay.
So I then lost 50% of my business. And not only was I trying to deal with the neck situation, I was trying to deal with the work situation, which was tough. So
what were you doing then? What was it?
So a lot of it was events, setting up events for clients, doing online marketing campaigns as well. So it was a double whammy because it's like, well, we can't do any events, but we're also not sure that we want to spend budget because we don't know how long this is going to last, what's going to happen. So,
right.
So I managed to get a couple of projects that sort of kept me going, but 50% just disappeared because all of the proposals that I was working on as well, it was like, nah, time out on this because, again, we don't know what's happening.
Right.
So I struggled through on both physical side and business side, got to 2021, saw a YouTube advert, funnily enough, and I was like, personal development course. What have I got to lose? Okay, right, let's go and buy it, see what it's got to say, what exercise it gets me to do. And one of the first ones was an exercise, again, thinking about situations, where we'd been, where we're going. And one of the questions that I was asked was, what impact and contribution have you made and what's going to be said at your funeral? And given that, if my neck injury had been any worse, I would have been at that point. So it's like, maybe I see this as a second chance. Maybe this is the calling to say, let's do things differently. Let's use the experience that I have to now help others. Because historically I'd been working, for big brands, consulting for governments, doing all that sort of stuff. It's like, it's not really helping anyone in the impact and contribution sense. Okay, yes, I do a project. It helps the people who have hired me to do the project, and there may be some knock-on effects from that, but it's not really impact and contribution. So I started down that path of thinking, okay, what can I do? And then there was an opportunity to help my partner. She's a teacher. She needed a maths lesson. And I knew all of her students loved playing a particular video game. So the video game industry and tech is my background. So I was like, why don't we just create a lesson based on a video game? And she was like, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure whether I can get my superiors to sign off on that. And we're like, But she finally said yes. 30 minutes later, we had some resources. We had a plan. She took it in the next day. I got a text message that says they love it. They're engaged. There's everybody on task. There's no drama. They're so bought in. I was like, well, yeah, I told you. I knew that would happen because they already love the game.
Right.
So that started me on a path of, right, I've got all of this experience. Let's use that to support people in terms of whether it's the teachers, whether it's the parents and the students. I created a model and framework for creating maths resources based on popular video games for sort of their 5 to 12-year age group. I created over 1,000 different maths practice worksheets for different games, different maths topics, different age groups. That then became the second half of my first book. But as I was going to parents, it was like, this is great. We understand that there's an opportunity to use the games that our kids are playing for maths, but we have a screen time challenge.
Right.
We get the arguments and the screaming and the shouting, and you've had some time. It's time to put the device away. So I was like, okay, I get this. Went and did the research, interviewed parents, interviewed child psychologists to say, share with me your strategies of how you've managed screen time. That then became the first half of the book. So my first book, called Watch Us Play, split into two. First half is about managing screen time and online safety, some of the strategies for that, how to build relationships around the video games that your kids are playing, how to understand the games that they play. And then the second half is about, okay, how you can then use those video games to improve math skills, how you can use them to create questions, what to look for inside the games. So that was sort of the journey that I was on for a year. And then I started doing some online training. So I'd been into schools and I was doing workshops for parents on all of this. Again, things to understand about tech and video games and building that relationship and using it for maths. And then I did some online training. I did a 4-day challenge for parents. And as I was creating the slides for this challenge, I created a slide that had 12 boxes on it, sort of rows of 4, of the things that impact parents' ability to manage screen time. So relationships was one of those, like parents' relationships with tech impact child's relationship with tech. But I then looked at these 12 boxes and went, that's not just about managing tech and screen time. That's actually stuff that impacts all areas of life. It was a life model. And that's when I said, okay, there's something bigger here than the stuff that I've been doing around video games and maths. This is to help a lot of people make changes in their life. Because I recognize myself in some of these boxes, and right. Relationships, convenience, time, location, perception, fear. It's like, okay. And that then became the 12 chains. So the 12 chains in life that hold us back. And that became the core topic for my second book, which is Finally Find Freedom. And what I am now taking people through in terms of, okay, if you're feeling stuck and frustrated, maybe because you're being held back by some of these chains. So if we can help you uncover them and show you the steps to break free of them, make those changes in life, find the freedom that you're looking for, make progress on the path to, whatever your goals are, whatever your dream, your vision is for your life. So the feedback for that has been great.
When did it come
out? So November 23.
Okay.
So
awesome.
Getting towards a year out now. The feedback for that has been really positive. So a lot of the work that I do is sharing that with people, helping them uncover those chains. It's like, okay, let's think about it. It's different for different people. Some people it's like convenience. One of the ladies who read it was like, I have read this and I've realized that the time that I spend, chilling on the sofa at the end of the day or watching Netflix is probably the same amount of time that I would need to build my business.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, exactly. That's the whole point, because it's about seeing things differently. It's about changing that perspective to say, what are you doing now? It's clearly not working if you are not happy with everything. So what are some of those changes we can make and how can we make them?
Right.
So yeah, feedback has been great for that. I'm going to be relaunching it in Q1 next year. So putting a couple of things into place for that. There's an audiobook version as well.
Are you doing the talking?
I am doing the narration myself. I've done that. So yeah, so that's all been done. I went into a podcast studio to record that. So there's also a video version. I need to do some slight editing on that.
And so are you going to turn it into a course, I assume, somehow? I mean, come on.
I have done, yes.
Because it's screaming to be a course.
It is a course. So the way that I've actually structured the book, okay, there's split into 3 parts. I like structure. It just makes sense for me. So it's like, okay, part 1, where are you now? Where do you want to go? Part 2, let's uncover the chains. Let's help you understand those. Part 3, okay, let's take action. Right. Let's think about, how we're going to make progress. And actually there are exercises spread throughout the book so that people can say, okay, here's a chain, right? Well, let's uncover it for you. What does that mean? Here's an exercise to do. So I've then replicated that in course version to take people through those exercises, map things out, and be like, okay, right, let's do these. Let's help you uncover them. Because then once you've uncovered them, you can start to make changes.
Right.
So yes, there is a course version.
That's brilliant. I was thinking about your screen time comment. So have you ever read the book 24/6?
No.
Oh, it's a good book. So it's by Tiffany Shlain. I think she was one of the first people involved in when the internet appeared. I can't remember how. It was a few years ago I read it, but it was talking about screen time and the effect on kids' brains and also grown-ups. And she advocated taking a full 24 hours a week off of all screens, not just like TV, Netflix, phones, the whole shooting match. And it's interesting that you had to address that. I guess it's true. I guess if they're doing their homework, it's still screen time, right? But I want to play a game. In my mind, I'm like, that's not real screen time. That's working. It's like the little kid in me comes out. And I love that you actually took that structured approach of talking to all the people and finding out what they need. And then this beautiful thing has evolved out of this. I mean, that is really how life works, right?
Yeah.
And it's a lot of things happened in the last 4 odd years, right? 2020 was, I feel like 2020 was the universe smackdown, like kataya, like,
yep.
You guys
it certainly did for me.
Right. Well, in 2021, I had a stroke. So it was just like, I had that same kind of smackdown. I just didn't break anything except a brain cell or 2. And because that's where my program came from. It all evolved out of that experience of being in the hospital and what do you do with that? Right. I mean, a lot of things happened in my life. Former corporate, same as you, like, I'm not helping anybody. I'm going to get out of here and go and help people. But I like so your program now isn't just for kids. I'm just imagining this. So
I've got a couple of different programs. So there's sort of the stuff that's for parents and kids and teachers. There's the stuff for those who feel stuck and frustrated. So that's the sort of the 12 chain stuff. And then there's tech and business stuff that I do for female coaches.
How do you keep your act together? How do you keep it all organized? You've unchained all your chains?
It's putting the time and effort into say, okay, how does this fit together? So there's some great learning that I've done. So I read and watch a lot of Russell Brunson. And one of the things he talks about is, models and frameworks. They've helped him. And I look at that and say, hey, it's a model or a framework, or it fits into a value ladder. So it's like there's structure there. And it's like, okay, this makes sense. So the stuff for parents and kids and the teachers is like, well, okay, there's the book, ebook, print book, there's some resources, there's a course, there's the worksheets. Okay, that's all sort of one thing. You can pick and choose what you want from that.
It's already built.
It's already built.
Right.
The 12 chains, book, audiobook, course, membership community. There's a structure there. Pick and choose what you want. All the tech and business stuff. Again, I'm in the process of creating that sort of course as it's going to be. Again, there's a community, so you can pick and choose what level you want. If you just want the course, if you want a bit more support, if you want me to do it for you, there's all those sorts of things. It fits within a structure. And then inside of each of those structures, there's the models and frameworks. So it's like for business, you've got the 4Ds of business, you've got the 3Cs, you've got, all of these things that I create. On the parents and the math side, it's like the parrot framework. These are the things that you need to look for inside the games to be able to create your maths questions. So everything that I do, I do through that lens, because it becomes easier to create it, easier to talk about it, and then easier to say, look, here are all the things that you get. I can give you the descriptions of what each of these things are and how they can support you.
I envy your organization. As I said before we came on, I'm a bit of a squirrel, and I just like, wow, what's that over there? Wait, no, you're supposed to be doing this, but look over there. So I guess everybody's got their own things that they have challenges. So speaking of challenges, let's make this magic segue into your chains. So why did you call them chains? I guess because they're holding you in a way. And what kinds of things are your chains?
Yeah, so I use chains for exactly that reason. That whenever you say chains, there's almost a natural image of being bound or holding something back or securing something. It's like, that's exactly it. There are these things that hold us back from doing what we want, being who we want to be, moving on a path that we, look forward to, that, we've got a vision for, and it's like, something holding me back. Okay, what is it?
It's you.
A lot of the time, yeah, absolutely it is. So a couple of the chains, I've already touched on them a little bit. Convenience, relationships, perception.
So what's
fear.
Convenience?
Convenience is
Is that a chain?
The world we live in. Okay.
It's too convenient.
Too convenient, on demand, 24/7, all you can eat, all of these things. It's like, it comes down to choice, really. Do we give in to say, oh, just watch another episode, I'll have another slice of pizza? Convenience is there. It's whether we let ourselves fall into that trap, or whether we say, that's not good for me. You know what? I want to do something different. Like, if I can watch one less episode, I get 45 minutes back. Now, if I choose that to read or watch something more constructive, well, then maybe I can break the knowledge chain, because the knowledge chain is all about the knowledge gaps that we have. What do we need to learn to move us forward?
So
if we have that
like
dream,
a web of chains.
In the book, I have put them into levels. Okay, so there's 3 levels that you can work through. And because I guess the easiest way to describe it is, there are different types of chains. So at level 1, the chains are self-directed actions. Again, it's about how we use our time. So convenience, we've just talked about. Relationships, who are we spending our time with? If they're people who drain us, why are we doing it?
Exactly.
That's not a good use of time. Okay, so all of those sort of things are self-directed actions. So the other one, so knowledge, convenience, relationships, and speed are the chains at level 1, self-directed actions. And speed is an interesting one. And I have this conversation with a lot of people. It's like, well, what do you even mean by speed? Everything has a speed to it. Okay, and we need to become comfortable with that. Because if we're trying to build a business, it's like, would I like to have $1 million business tomorrow? Quite probably. Am I ready for that? Probably not. There may not be the systems. I may not be able to serve the clients. I may not have the right offer. I may need to have some conversations. I may need to develop myself. There's a speed to it. Some things will happen quickly. some things need time. And the problem that we have as individuals is, on one side, we say, things are moving too fast. Technology changes all the time. I can't keep up. And then on the other side, we say, man, things are moving so slowly. It's like, okay, we need to become comfortable with the fact that everything has a speed to it.
I feel like speed and convenience have this like counter balance thing going on, because you want everything fast. Convenience makes things fast, but it's not necessarily a good thing. You know, it's like this teeter-totter. I like that
So
they're on
they're
either end. Do, 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 do.
I see, that's a good way of looking at it, actually. So they're the chains at level 1. Then we move into level 2, which are the external influences.
Yes.
So this is where we then have time as an actual chain, because sometimes our time is dictated, or use of time is dictated by others, by those external influences. Then we have location, also often dictated. We've got a job, we need to be in a certain place. We feel like we've got to be close to family. Yeah, but there's a big world out there. Okay, so it can be a chain that holds us back. And then we have priorities and responsibilities. And often the things on our to-do list are other people's priorities. They're not even our own. We get given them. It's like, can you do this for me? Yeah, of course I can. I'll just add it to my list. It's like, okay, that's great. But how many of those things on your list are for you? And how many of those things on your list are for somebody else? Because if they're all for somebody else, you're not making progress, because there's nothing on the list for you.
Right. That's why this is called Back to Me. Hello, back to me. Do, do, do.
There you go.
And I've talked sometimes about the difference between, I call it values and priorities. So if, for instance, if you say, I really value my physical health, but you place your priority on your to-do list on something else versus, yeah, I could work out today, but I'm going to do this instead. You know, it's like that discord, that disconnect between those two, making decisions based on what's actually important versus, and there are going to be external influences, but as Mark Manson says, you can say no and not be an asshole.
Yeah.
Right.
And actually that is one of the chapters, the power of saying no.
Right.
It's so important. We need to protect ourselves. We need to protect our time. And we need to become comfortable with saying no.
Mm-hmm. You won't die. And then, so then we go, do we get to graduate to the next level?
We do. So then next level is mental images.
Oh.
So this is where we have risk, fear, pressure, and perception.
It's all made up anyway.
And that's exactly the point. Is it's like, what is risky for one person because it's about our interpretation of something may not be risky for someone else. Okay, we need to recognize that. Is it really risky? Is it going to impact us? Same with fear. So the example I give in the book is skydiving. I had a fear of the parachute not opening, me plummeting to the ground and going splat. Was that likely to happen? No. Did it stop me for a long time? Yes. Was it just a mental image that I created of that worst case scenario? Yes. When I went skydiving, did I love it? Yes.
I thought you were supposed to do it.
No, so I did that before the injury.
Okay.
So I couldn't do any anymore, which is quite disappointing. But it's like, I went through that and said, I'm going to do it. You know, there was a bit of FOMO going on. There were a couple of friends who were doing it for a birthday. So they're like, come and join us. Okay, yeah, why not? Woo-hoo. So I did it. Amazing experience. Loved it. And did not go splat.
Right.
So that fear was just a mental image that I created of a worst case scenario. And that's often the thing that we let hold us back.
We are really good at creating worst case scenarios and everything. And I understand, like, I feel like evolution wise, that's kind of what kept us alive. You know, if I go walking through the woods at night, yeah, I'll probably get eaten, you know, by a big man person eating thing. But it's funny because it does stop us from doing so much. So this past weekend, although this is going to air in November, it's August. So this past weekend I was teaching, no, it's September, isn't it? Gosh, where did August go? I was teaching kayaking, and I teach kayaking to beginners. So I know in the UK it's called canoeing, but we call it kayaking big, long things. And this one particular woman I knew she was there because she said she was working on challenging herself. And she's sitting in the kayak and she won't come out to me. I'm in deeper water. She won't come out towards me. She's not wearing a skirt. She's not attached in. And I said, come out here. And she wouldn't come out. So I went over to her. I said, why aren't you coming out? She goes, I'm afraid. I said, what are you afraid of? She said, that I'm going to fall in. And I said, and then what's going to happen? I'm going to get wet. And then what's going to happen? It's like you're wearing a life jacket, like trying to take her through the actual steps of what might happen. And she couldn't come up with a good reason because I knew she wasn't going to drown. So I think if we can imagine other scenarios versus the one that we're inventing, life would be so much easier. Imagine the best outcome instead of the worst outcome.
Absolutely.
Hopefully that's an exercise because I like doing that game.
Yeah, so there is an exercise for fear, and it's about identifying the things that you either want to do or, again, is going to be important for you to move forward on the journey. That vision and the goals you have, the life that you want, and just writing down, okay, what am I afraid of? What's that mental image that I'm creating that I'm actually letting stop me? Because again, if we can recognize it, it's like, okay, now let's think about it rationally. Is that likely to happen? Okay, so now that I've written it down, it's not just here anymore. It's here. It's right in front of me. I can take a different assessment of that. Is it really real? Probably not. Okay, so can I then start to work through that? What can I do to make that a bit easier?
I think about those times where you've got this thing going on in your head, and then when you say it out loud to someone, you go, yeah, now that I said it out loud, it actually sounds kind of stupid. Right? Now that I've said it out loud.
The more you keep it in here, it just goes round and round.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is really, it's like, I'm not sure. It's like.
Now, there are times in your life where it's valid to be afraid, right? It's probably good for you. And maybe FOMO is not the best reason to approach some fears, but hey, maybe it is. Like skydiving sounds like it was fun. My brother did skydiving. It was never my jam. But still, like if fear of, and I think of what's that one that everybody's afraid they're more afraid of public speaking than dying.
Yeah, the number one is public speaking. So
I like getting people on the podcast and saying, yeah, you didn't die when you came and talked to me, did you?
That's it.
Public speaking. Not from this anyway. So stretching yourself those times, there is the rationality of, yes, this probably isn't going to happen. But I think to get rid of the visceral, instinctual reaction, you almost have to, like, once you realize it's not going to happen, go and do it.
And that's it. It's about getting you to that point of, I really don't think, it's very unlikely to happen, this worst case scenario that I've created in my head. So let's go and do it. Let's go and try it. Let's see what happens. Because if I don't hit that worst case scenario, well, is it really as bad as I thought it was going to be? Probably not.
Probably
it may still be uncomfortable because it may be new, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be the worst case that you had created the image in your head.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to be perfect and commanding thousands on a stage of thousands, but maybe you will be.
Maybe you will be, but that's the chain of speed.
Right.
That's a journey there. Let's go to 100. Let's go to 500. Let's go to 1,000. Yeah. If you go 1,000 right now, it's like, I'm not ready for that. I feel super uncomfortable with that. So let's take speed into consideration. Let's build up to it.
I just was reminded of when I used to run back in the day. And, I said, 5K is enough. I'm going to run 5K races. And then, maybe I can do 8. So, and then I did end up running marathons. But if you had asked me at that time when I didn't even think I could run a 5K race, if I would run a marathon, I'd say, oh, no. But there is that aspect of you just slowly build up your whatever.
I'm trying to work towards 10K at the minute.
You can totally do it.
You know, well, yeah, but it's tough for me because historically I've been a sprinter. So again, it's reconditioning myself to say, I have to go for a bit longer here. Okay, let's build that up over
You got to
time to
build up
get to a
your
point.
slow-mo muscles versus
Yeah.
your slow twitch versus your fast twitch. I'm mostly slow twitch. I was good at marathoning. I'm not so much a sprinter. Amazing. And so you have a lot of resources for people. I feel like where do people find all of your resources that you're
So the best place is my website. So it's my name, philipride.com. And there's a couple of different bits on there. So again, whether you are looking at that parenting stuff and the screen time, there's some links and resources on there. If you're looking at the 12 chains, obviously, yeah, there's some resources there. Links to getting copies of the book. If it's the sort of more business and tech stuff, again, there are links there. So it's that place. It sort of encapsulates everything, and then it's choose your own adventure. What makes sense
right?
for you? You know, what are the bits that you feel you could, maybe get some use out of additional resources?
I like the choose your adventure because that's how I live my life. And that's ride for people who missed it at the beginning. There's a W at the beginning of ride. So it does kind of rhyme with thrive, ride, but you can rearrange the letters to say weird.
Yeah.
And that's why I like you. So I feel so. One more thing, because I want to just say this because we were talking about it earlier. So your business resource stuff, you are, because people will say, who is he helping? So you're helping coaches,
Female coaches, yes,
female coaches.
with tech. So it's sales funnels, it's email automations, it's the way that I position it. So I did a lot of this work for the big corporates, billion-dollar e-commerce companies, airlines, and fashion retailers, and various other people. It's like, okay, let's take all of that learning, let's repackage it to say, here's how we can use it for coaches. Because a lot of us, and I'm the same, I've looked at the space, it's like, we're chasing the 3%. We're chasing the 3% of people who are ready to buy right now.
I know.
Which means we're competing with everybody else. But if we can build the systems to nurture this 97% who aren't ready right now, we can build those systems, have them working on autopilots, convert people as and when they are ready, build that relationship, and actually business becomes so much simpler. So that's the bit that I'm focusing on.
I feel like we're going to talk again. Because who loves simple in their life? I love simple in my life. That's what makes life, flow the way I like it. Before we head off to the wild blue yonder, because I know it's nighttime where you are, I always offer my guests the final word of wisdom. Or you can have more than one word.
Well, I will share two quotes from the book, if I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the first one is that happiness is a state of mind, freedom is a way of living. And the second one is an acrostic that I created from the word freedom. And so each letter is a word and it creates a phrase. And that is: focused repetition enables experiences, desires, opportunities, and money.
Oh, I like those things. That's amazing. I love it. We're going to have a mic drop right there. Oh my gosh, so good. Thank you. And friends, don't worry. Everything's in the show notes because you can't think and write and do all the things all at the same time and drive and whatever you're doing. So show notes, get all the information, get the book. Maybe if you have kids, get all the books, get all the things. Finally, find freedom. I like the F's. F. Fabulously finally find freedom. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Philip, for coming and hanging out with me and telling me all this good stuff and sharing. I love that you have left the corporate world and come to help us. That's so big kudos to you for coming and helping us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, my friends in podcast land. Keep it real. Keep yourself healthy. I will see you next time. Hi, my friend. Thanks so much for listening to this entire podcast. If you found it useful and you're like me and you like helping others, please feel free to share this. Give it a like, give it a comment. If you found something useful in it, there's a chance that someone else will find something useful as well. Also, if you have any questions at all, I can absolutely help, and I would love to help. You can email me at heather@prosperityflowcoaching.com. If you want more of this awesome content, you can follow me on Instagram, Heather Stewart Coaching. You can follow me on Facebook, Prosperity Flow Coaching. And I have a personal request. I want to help as many people as I can with these podcasts. And if you could give me a review, hopefully a good one, if you could share, if you could send this out into the world, I would truly appreciate it. I hope you have an amazing day, and I hope that you find your way to wellness by getting back to me. Take care, my friend.